Create Art Podcast. Commentary. Self. Create Art Podcast. I'm your host, Timothy Kim O'Brien, head instigator for this podcast. And I use my over 30 years of experience in the arts and education world to help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. Now, for 2023, what I've been doing is this little box of cards called Kickstart Creativity. It's by Bonnie Smith Whitehouse. And it's 50 cards that spark inspiration inside of you. Kickstart Creativity. And my wife gave them to me over the holiday in 2022. And I was wondering, wait a minute, I'm the head instigator for Create Art Podcast. I am creativity personified. I'm not like that, I promise you. But I got reading through them, and I had already set up 2023, all the topics I was going to talk about, and everything was, all lined up and scheduled out and in place. And I started going through the cards, and I'm like, wow, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm trying to do with the podcast. I'm trying to, get rid of that mystery of, that some artists love to have, and other artists are like, come on, this really is a block between my audience and myself. So I thought, well, I'm going to do this every week then. I'm going to do one card a week now in April and November of the year. April, I do the National Poetry Writing Month. November, I do the National Novel Writing Month. So those 2 months, they won't be getting an episode. But that still gives me, more than enough cards to cover the entire year. And that's what my plan is. Now, obviously, with holidays and birthdays and all that kind of stuff coming up, especially for me towards the end of the year, I may not hit every week, but for most weeks, I will be sitting here talking to you about what the card of the week is, shall we say. So as you heard, this week it is self. It's all about you and me this time. And so let's see what it says on the what I call the kernel of the card, which is actually the front of card. These cards they come in 3 different colors. You have green, red, and blue, and the greens, which are the ones that I'm working on right now, are the perspective cards. And you can mix and match them up if you want to. But they have a little, what I call the kernel of knowledge. If you miss the whole card, read this part. And then on the back has the challenges and kind of more of an idea of what kind of goes into depth on what we're talking about here. So I'm rambling. Let's stop Tim from rambling here. And the kernel, as I like to say, Kernal. And I think the reason I'm saying that is because I've eaten so much popcorn the past few weeks. Anyhow, it's a little bit about me you probably didn't need to know. Our work benefits when we embrace the idea that the self is part of a daily pilgrimage. Wow. Where is that pilgrimage leading to? I don't know. I don't know what it is for you. I don't even know what it is for me. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, hey, are you going to be this into podcasting? I would have said no. And, podcasting is just a fun little thing. And now I'm speaking at conferences and all that kind of jazz. And I'm doing it for my day job. So I would have never thought that. But, it's one of those things that I saw Saul Williams. He's a spoken word artist, poet, filmmaker, musician. He does it all. And I saw him in Rockford, Illinois, of all places. And he signed. I stood in line to have him sign a book. I was the last person in line, and had him sign. I think it was Shotgun to the Head. Anyways, he put in there, "Enjoy the journey, Saul Williams." Because it's not about the destination; it's the journey. And that's where all the fun is. And that's what we write about. That's what we represent. That's what we bring to our audiences is the journey of it. And what better way of doing that is to embrace that we have a self. We have a unique idea and perspective. Yes, we've all heard the whole thing of, oh, there's nothing new underneath the sun. Well, guess what? Yes, there is. Your view of whatever it is. Your view of what is dirt, what is sky, what is water, what is a rock. You have a view of it. And I'm sure your view of it is way different than mine. And I'm interested in finding out what your view of it is. And maybe you're interested in finding out what, how I view this rock, whatever it is that we're viewing together. So, that's the kernel of the card. Now let's really get into it. I always like to deal with definitions. And so this week, the definition is of self is brought to us by Cambridge Dictionary. That's right, Cambridge Dictionary. If you need a good dictionary, go to Cambridge. They know words. Anyhow, self is defined as the set of someone's characteristics, such as personality and ability, that are not physical and make that person different from other people. Wow. So yourself doesn't deal with the physical. It deals with your characteristics, the internal, not the physical ones. It's our personality and abilities. Some of us are painters, some of us are dancers, some of us are writers, some of us think that we don't have artistic talent. But I'm telling you right now, if you're looking at this YouTube or you're listening to the podcast, you have some sort of talent in you. There's something that brought you here today. If this is your first time with me here today, thank you. Thank you for coming on board. But for those of you that have been with me for quite some time, you know that I think you are talented. I think a lot of us are told the wrong things about words and ideas when it comes to art. And so I want to remove that. I want to remove that kind of a barrier. If you've been incorrectly educated, I want to remove that from you. So that way you don't have it holding you back anymore. And that's just the kind of person that I am. But it's an important thing that you realize that you have a self, and it's not based on physical aspects. You are different from other people. You have a viewpoint. And why shouldn't we look at your viewpoint? We may disagree with it, politically wise or culturally wise. That disagreement is fine, but let's know, what's going on with each other. Maybe you're seeing something that I'm not seeing. Maybe I'm seeing something that you're not seeing. That's the whole thing with critique and to collaborate. But anyhow, let's continue on with the card, shall we? Let's see what more gems we can find. Who am I? I think we addressed that earlier in the show here. And who am I becoming? Ooh, who am I, and who am I becoming? That one will make you go down a bunch of rabbit holes. I know it makes me want to. Ask yourself these questions as you create and problem solve. Be open to life. Be open to new people and places, and be open to the signs and symbols along the way. Who am I, and who am I going to become? Wow. 10-year plans, 20-year plans, 50-year plans out the window. I thought I knew what I was going to become. And then I thought again, I knew what I was going to become. And even today, I think I know what I'm going to become. And I'm always surprised by the changes that happen. Mostly for the better. Some things for the worse, but mostly for the better. So that's where I am at with it. Who are you going to become? That's entirely up to you. With your skills and abilities and your characteristics, that's up to you. Who are you going to become? All right, let's get to the challenges here. We have 3 challenges that we always have. with these cards. And I sometimes I like the challenges more than I like the cards. But this one is celebrate your evolving, changing, living self by creating a self-portrait. Make use of paint, chords, photography, text, or any other material you deem fitting to the task. Oh, a self-portrait of myself. A self-portrait. That's tough for me because I have a face for podcasting, but yet I'm doing the video aspect of it because it's a challenge for me, and I really want to step up to the challenge. So, a self-portrait. That's something I'm going to have to work on. I'm going to have to work on it. I've done paintings, paint by numbers, but hey, they're still paintings. Where I was one of the people in the painting, but I think I have to find something that I deem worthy that somebody else might want to look at, and then and that's my issue. That's not anyone else's issue. That's just something that I need to work through. Obviously, my wife, finds me physically, emotionally, and mentally attractive. Otherwise, she wouldn't stay with me. Otherwise, she wouldn't put up with all of this. So, a self-portrait. I think that's a good idea. I think that's something I'll do. Second challenge is I may no longer be 20, but within me, I carry my 20-year-old self, as well as the self I was at 5 and the self I was at 40. Ponder your former selves. How might they tackle the situation at hand? Oh, yeah, when I was 5, it was a very good year. I'm just thinking of, the Frank Sinatra song to that. When I was 5, when I was 20, when I was 40, I was all of those ages. Oh my God. Some of them twice and 3 times over, or 10 times over. But yeah, that's a good, you have all those experiences that you've had, good or bad. You have all those experiences to draw upon. So, and that's one of the reasons why I am so against, writer's block or, any kind of artistic block. It can be challenging, especially if you don't do it every day. And I'm guilty of not doing art every day. I'm guilty of not writing a poem every day. Absolutely, I'm guilty of it. But I don't say, well, I'm not writing a poem because of writer's block. No, there are other things to do. There is a life to live. As artists, sometimes some artists, and this is a stereotype, all they want to do is their art and nothing else. And they isolate themselves from people. And then they wonder why people don't understand their work. I view artists as being amongst the people, being amongst their audience. And then at one moment, poof, they show up with a representation of what they have seen. And that's what you got there. So, and that is what I aspire to be as an artist. I aspire to be that person that, I don't have to tell everybody around me I'm an artist. They just know it. They just know, oh yeah, Tim does the stuff and that stuff. And, he's got all these paintings and all this music going around all the time and all this writing stuff. But yeah, no, he's an artist. Oh, I didn't know that. I just know he does a lot of things and he does them well. Boom. I just bopped your nose if you're watching. If you're not watching, you can always get to the YouTube page. The last thing is research yourself. Use photographs, journals, letters, and even your digital presence to conjure up who you were at pivotal ages in your life. That one is a personally tough one for me because I don't have pictures of me, many pictures of me when I was a kid. I probably have, I can count it on maybe 2 hands, probably less than that. I do have a treasure trove right behind me. You can't see it if you're watching the video, but I've got a box of stuff of, just knickknacks that I've carried throughout the years. I probably stuff I could fill up a shadow box with, or a photo album with, just to keep it, preserve it a lot better than the way it's being preserved right now. But Yeah, I don't have a lot of pictures of me that I can do that. Journals, yeah, well, I have a lot of poetry journals that I wrote in. Letters, I do have some of those. And digital presents, I've got a ton of digital presents. So, yeah, I can research my stuff and myself to do a self-portrait of myself. I like that. That's what I'll be doing this week. So there you go. we got into some good stuff. We got in some good therapy for Tim. Luckily, I've got a couch right over here that I can go and take a nap in. But you can't take a nap with me. So some points I want you to consider is when we really connect with ourselves, we're embracing our authenticity. We make mistakes. We're human beings. We do stupid stuff, and that's okay. That's okay to do that stuff. But, you can show that to the world and go, hey, listen, I'm a flawed person, and here's my flaws, but here's my views of what the world looks like to me or how I am experiencing it. Boom, there you go. The next point I want you to consider is tapping into those personal experiences. I don't want you to do therapy on stage. I find no value in it. Now, I do find value in using the arts as therapy, but I would not go see a show that is just a therapeutic event, or a therapeutical. I don't even know that that's a word. A therapeutic event for a patient. I would not be interested in going to see that. And some people go, well, that's kind of cold blooded, Tim. You like, art, using the arts for therapy, but you won't go see it. And there's a difference, is that, if it's not presented as therapy, then I've probably seen it, but if it is presented as, this is a, therapeutic event, and we should, be kind and be gentle with our responses. No thanks. Don't need to see that. It's just not, I'm not the audience for that. And that's okay. And that's okay. Another point is vulnerability and connection. When we are vulnerable with our audiences, just like I'm vulnerable with you, just about each and every week, we develop that connection. And I've developed a connection with many of you who have listened to this podcast and who have watched the podcast. It helps us overcome creative blocks. You know me and creative blocks. I'm not a big fan of creative blocks. I do not build with creative blocks. So there are none. No, there are creative blocks. I'll give that to you. But, if you know that they're there, how are you overcoming them? You can say, oh, I'm having a creative block. Great. Have your creative block. Have your pity party for 5 minutes. Now, what are you going to do to get over it? I'm not a nice person I am a nice person to do critique of for people, or to do coaching for people, but I'm not going to let people, get away with just not doing their work because, I'm being blocked. No. Okay, be blocked for 5 minutes. Now, how are we going to get over this block? Oh, let's do some art. Done. It's bad art. I don't care. It's art. Done. And then you're creating something, and then you're going, oh, it's not totally ugly. It's not totally horrible. It's kind of good. I can build off of that. Oh, hey, you've overcome your creative block. There you go. Navigating criticism and self-doubt. Again, this show is about, taming that inner critic. People are going to criticize you. I'm going to criticize you. Especially if you ask me for criticism, I'll give you criticism. I'll give you constructive criticism. I'll say, this is what I saw. It didn't work for me. Maybe if you did something like this or that, it might work for me better. I don't know. And if that's not what you're going for, then fantastic. Then the criticism is not for you. But don't let that criticism feed into your self-doubt, because it has done it to me. And I really railed against criticism for a while. And now I have people coming up to me and going, hey, Tim, what do you think about this? And I'm like, do you want the full-on Tim that'll make you cry? Or do you want half-speed Tim? Or do you want Tim that'll make you feel good? Tim that'll make you feel good? Okay, cool. I can do all 3 speeds. Hopefully not at the same time. The last thing I want you to consider is the evolution of self in art. You are in every piece you create. I am in every piece I create. You look at some of these paintings, a collage that I do. There's a bit of me in that. Some of the stuff my kids do, some of the stuff my wife does, there is bits of them in that. That's why I hang them up. The wall that you can't see is the wall that's right in front of me here. I've got stuff from my kids, from my wife, hanging up on that wall. I have hanging up on this wall. I have it hanging up on that wall. I have it hanging up on that wall down there. It's important to have that stuff around you because there's a bit of somebody in there, and that could be well worth more than any picture, any photograph that you have of that person. If you have something that they created with their two hands, it's awesome. It's awesome to have. All right. Well, it is come time that we go ahead and put a bookmark in our little journey here. If you'd like to reach out to the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. You can use the email, timothy@createartpodcast.com. Obviously, if you're watching me on the YouTube channel, you know where to get me. If not, the links are in the show notes. I'm also on that Instagram and Twitter /X/ whatever they're going to call it next week. And I do have a newsletter that I put out monthly. I do owe everybody the August newsletter. So that'll be coming out very shortly for the folks that have the subscription there. If you want a subscription, go to my website and go to this episode or any of the episodes, and you can get subscribed to the newsletter. If you found value in what I'm doing with this podcast, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and share it with a friend at this point. That's the best way to discover new podcasts, in my opinion. If it wasn't a 5-star podcast for you, if it wasn't a 5-star YouTube episode for you, I'd like you to let me know. Email me, timothy@createartpodcast.com. I want this podcast, this YouTube channel, to be of use to you. Maybe it's a little bit entertaining too, watching the old guy talk. That's fine. I can do that. I've done that for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So I can do that. It's not a problem. But I want it to be of use to you. So I'd like you to reach out to me and let me know what you'd like to see on the show, or if you'd like to be on the show. I have got 2 interviews that are coming up in the near future here. One in late August and one in September. Just, from people that I have met through podcasting, through the wonderful world of podcasting and just being a presence online. So definitely shoot me an email on that, and I'd love to have you there. Now, speaking about sharing podcasts with friends and all that, I have another podcast called Find a Podcast About, and that's where I help you outsmart the algorithm and find your next binge-worthy podcast. I review podcasts that I personally find very educational, entertaining, insightful, whatnot. On occasion, I get the host to come on board, and we do a little interview with the host there. You can find that at findapodcastabout.xyz. And you can also shoot me an email over there, timothy@findapodcastabout.xyz. Lastly, this is, my first real serious attempt at a YouTube channel. So, again, shoot me an email, put it in the comments here, and let me know how you've, how you found it, and let me know what you think about it. I'm interested in your thoughts. Again, I want it to be of use to you. So, as I like to end out all of my episodes, I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Now go out there, tame that inner critic, create more than you consume. Go out there and make some art for somebody you love, yourself. I'll talk to you next time.